To exclude ourselves from the single market would be the closest thing to economic suicide, certainly economic self-harm, that I've seen in any developed nation anywhere around the world. The most important issue for Britain in the Brexit vote is going to be about our ability to continue doing business in the areas, in the sectors where Britain has shown its success in specializing, the areas of clear comparative advantage, all of which crucially are not covered by normal global free trade agreements, but they're service sectors and therefore subject to non-tariff barriers, to regulatory and legal limitations rather than standard trade treatment, and therefore participation in the single market is absolutely essential for Britain to continue to be economically successful. The real upside break in Britain's economic performance relative to the rest of Europe and really relative to the rest of the world occurred in the late 80s and early 90s with the completion of the single market. That's why Margaret Thatcher, of all people, promoted it with enormous zeal. And for the next 15 years, Britain benefited greatly from the single market. So there's a claim that Britain could still benefit from all the access to the single market that it has now simply by negotiating a treaty. And there are two aspects to that. One is, well, the Europeans need free trade with us because after all, we've got a trade deficit and therefore they export more to us than we export to them. The second is Switzerland and Norway already have these kind of free trading agreements. Both of those arguments are completely fallacious. Why? The first one, the Europeans need access to the British market, but that's essentially access for trade in goods and manufacturers, which is already covered by the WTO, and where of course there wouldn't be any protectionism. So they get all the access. We need access in services in the single market, which is not covered by standard trade treaties. So we could not put any sort of pressure on them to give us the access we want. Now, the Norway and Switzerland argument is very simple. Yes, they do have access to the single market, but in exchange, they have had to give up all the claims to political sovereignty that the proponents of Brexit are demanding. If we want access on the same basis as Switzerland and Norway, we have to accept all European regulations without any say in deciding them. We have to make contributions to the European budget. And above all, we need to accept free movement of labor, which seems to be the biggest thing that Britain is trying to avoid. So if we wanted access to the single market, the idea that we could get a better deal than Switzerland or Norway, or an easier deal than Switzerland or Norway, is pure fantasy. The costs are very, very clear that if we don't participate in the single market, then the most successful sectors of the British economy are devastated. Not just finance, but business services, law, accountancy, even media, and so on and so forth. They're devastated. So that's the cost. If we do choose to participate in the single market, but as an EU outsider, we then have to accept all the regulations that are currently causing so much controversy. And on top of that, we lose the political benefit of being able to influence those regulations. So Brexit is a policy that has very clear economic costs and no benefits whatsoever.